Station.
Welcome to Fort Fritz, your one-stop for news and current events in the supernatural, paranormal, Fortean, or just things that go bump in the night, all packaged and presented by Know-Nothing Know-It-Alls, entertaining the unknown. We're really happy because we just launched our iHeartRadio app channel, Fort Fritz Campfire Tales. Last week we played a couple of stories we published for the past several years while doing this Fort Fritz podcast. So we decided to do it again. We heard from a lot of you who really dug it, and, you know, it's the summer, so why not get a little spooky with things? We will start off with a story from Mandaddy. This one is found on the episode Los Fritz Aparecidos. It's called Who Killed John Lang? If you would like to check out this story, just download that iHeartRadio app. Search Fort Fritz Campfire Tales and search Who Killed John Lang.
Okay, you don't want to call the cops when there's disappearing going on because sometimes the cops can be involved in the disappearing. Obviously, you haven't heard the story of John Lang.
No, I haven't. No.
Obviously, you've never heard the story of John Lang, so let me hip you. There has always been criticism of those who police society. One must always wonder, who watches the watchman? The story of the death of John Lang questions much about the Fresno Police Department in 2016. Is this a tale of corruption, harassment, a murder and subsequent cover-up? Or is it the ramblings of a paranoid mind with a tragic end? Let's take a look. Yeah, John Lang was a resident of Fresno, California, and worked as a repairman on boats and watercraft.
Beep, 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 beep.
Now, John Lang was a resident of Fresno, California, and worked as a repairman on boats and watercraft, and also worked at a local brake and tire store. John became a bit of a local activist when he discovered the police using possible illegal methods to gain revenue. John began posting on the local website, the Fresno Bee, about this issue. According to John, the police were going to Walmart and dollar store style stores in lower income areas. They would go through the parking lots in an unmarked car. They would scan all the license plates looking for various violations.
Oh, you cannot do that.
You can't do that.
That is an obvious violation.
I also read that it was linked to a new thing they had that they were basically assigning like a severity score to these scannings that linked to other things like social media accounts and other stuff. They were able to basically
They're like black mirroring them,
almost
giving them a score.
to say, right, like this person's like super high risk for having like weed on them or something. So like wait until they leave the parking lot and then go pull them over and then insist that you need to search their car or whatever.
Damn.
Yeah.
So they were using like Access, pretty much, like way
That's
before
ridiculous.
Access was like bought and sold again.
But so they would go through, they'd look for these violations and then, in an unmarked car, and then later would pull these people over in a marked car, claiming they had just come across them in their normal patrols, which was complete bullshit and completely illegal. John said that someone working with the Fresno Bee was leaking the IP addresses of people who post negative comments about the police department so they could get their physical addresses and harass them. And this began an almost 7-year-long story of either harassment or delusion. 2016 is when the story really began to heat up. Because in January 2016, in an online conversation, John explained why he was being stalked by local PD. He said that after exposing their license plate scheme, that they began to follow and target him. He stated that they were trying to plant evidence in his home. He claimed that their favorite weapon was planting child porn on their enemies' computers.
Wow.
Because child porn it's just the worst crime there is. That's
Yep.
it. It's the most indefensible. You can't say, no, it wasn't me, I didn't. If it's on your computer,
Right.
you know, and
Let me
it's
just say
evil.
this: without jumping all the way over here or all the way over there, that is the worst.
That's the one. That's the one right there. That there's no redemption. There's
You
nothing.
done?
Why would he say that?
Right. Now, a person John claimed was a local cop left this ominous message on his Facebook page. If this is coming from a cop, you don't want to hear this. Quote, "First rule of Fight Club is you do not talk about Fight Club. You should know this, Mr. Lang."
I don't understand.
Oh, that.
Have you seen Fight Club?
What?
I don't understand why a cop would be saying that to him.
Oh,
Meaning that you're giving away the information, and when you give away the information from Fight Club, you disappear.
But all he had to say was, I don't get the reference.
I've never seen the movie. Is it good?
Yeah.
I spend all my waking moments in terror of this police state, so I don't have time to enjoy
Please
normal
leave me
films.
alone.
Do you have any other recommendations for this weekend?
I also find just a very dorky threat.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank
if somebody
you.
references
Oh,
the
It
rules
kind of
of
makes
Fight
me,
Club
it makes
in a
me feel
menacing
like
way.
kind of like, ugh, really? That's
what you got?
That's what you said to
Guy's
me.
definitely wearing a tap out shirt and wiping Mountain Dew off his lips when he's saying that. Yeah.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Was it 10th grade? Or?
Now, in April of 2016, John installed video cameras in and around his house to record these suspicious activities that he claims he was seeing. And there is a lot of debate about the actual nefariousness of what is seen in these videos. He posted about 17 or more online with descriptions of what he believed was happening. Like in the first video posted on May 8th, he claims his house is being stalked out by blah, blah, blah. And basically you see a man walk past John's house, stopping, pausing for a moment, kind of looking at the house, turning around, walking the other way while talking on his phone.
Wait, kind of looking at the house.
Yeah, that's it. Not like staring or anything, just kind of, meandering around and then walking away while talking on his cell phone.
That's a house.
That's it. Look at that house.
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah. Now, John claimed you could see a gun on his hip, but you can't tell. It's a blurry clip. You can't tell if it's just a
Could be one of those phone holsters or
you never know.
Or an actual.
Could be anything.
Could be anything.
One of the more controversial videos show a black van across the street from his house with the side door open and a large film camera pointed at his house, while another guy sits in the front seat talking on the phone. Which is kind of weird, but there is a film school nearby, and there is also a place nearby that rents film equipment.
That could be anything. That could be an X-ray machine. It could be Google Map Street View.
Well, it's definitely not Google Maps Street View, but it is a black van, which always is creepy.
It could be an X-ray machine.
That's what he claims in the
really?
videos.
I just
He
made that
claims
up.
no. He claims
You gotta be kidding me.
that he posted that it was a thermal imaging camera
my
to
God.
see if he was at home. But many people have pointed out that that's just a style of Steadicam, and that there's a lot of student filmmakers in the area, and you can tell that's a Steadicam. It's not an infrared cam. Infrared cameras aren't as big as this bulky bastard is. And
Bulky bastard. Wow.
and
That's great.
he also had a video of a few police cars, like 3 police cars, at night parked across from the street with several officers milling about. And it is kind of weird. I don't know if maybe they have some sort of situation up the street that they're planning for or something. But it is across the street. There's like 3 cops cars, and they're just milling about, and it is kind of menacing. You know, if you saw that without knowing there's other activity about, you would be a little nervous.
Sure.
So there's a lot of questions about this case. Then on January 14th, John's Facebook post became increasingly alarmist. He posted, quote, just wanted to give you guys a heads up. If anything happens to me in the next day or two, it will be the result of the Fresno PD.
Okay, that's...
My neighbor and an employee at my job. That they're all involved. They're all involved to get him. Then on January 15th, he sent a Facebook message to a local news anchor saying, Corinne, you want some news? Corrupt Fresno cops are going to try and kill me this weekend, possibly tonight. This is no joke. Please follow up on my story regardless what happens or what happens, regardless of what happens or what version the cops and the Fresno Bee come up with. On the 16th, he posted a video with the
Can
comment.
I just interject?
Sure.
It just seems like he's trying to cover his tracks way before like some kind of premeditated. And like I don't know how this ends, but
Setting something up to happen.
yeah.
Yeah.
It sucks to say I told you so, but guess what? I told you so. Yeah, but did you say it sucks?
Just like how Nostradamus predicted the day he'd die.
Exactly.
You know, it's really easy to do that if you're, committed. Now, on the 16th, he posted a video of this white van with workers coming in around the van. And he put, if I turn up missing or dead tomorrow, remember this van. I think I seen a couple of guys sneak out the side door. He then asked if anyone wanted to crash at his place that night, especially if they had concealed permit and they were armed and could come and stay and protect him. On the 17th, he penned a long letter that he sent to the DOJ and the FBI. In it, he explains his theory about the Fresno PD wanting to plant child porn on his computer to end his dissent. He ended the letter.
Specific.
He ended the letter with, quote, and with this letter, I have for certain signed my death warrant with Fresno law enforcement. Kind regards, John Lang, Fresno, California. On January 20th, 2016, the Fresno Fire Department responded to a fire at 648 North Van Ness Avenue in Fresno. Inside, they found John lying on the floor in the back of the home. He had been stabbed multiple times and was pronounced dead at the hospital. Lieutenant Gomez, the PD's public information officer, told the press that John had been stabbed multiple times in the abdomen and back area, and his house was set on fire. But then the story changed. Tony Body, a spokesperson for the sheriff and coroner, said Lang had, quote, 3 superficial self-inflicted stab wounds.
Tony Body was the spokesman
Tony,
for the
B-O-T-T-I, Body. Would Tony Body be, I'm Tony Body
Tony
from
Body.
the coroner's office,
Coroner's report.
eating a sandwich above a body.
Stabbed multiple times.
I just thought, come on, kids, let's get fit.
I know.
Doing push-ups
like a
with corpses.
Bodies by Tony Body.
Nice. And so he blamed Gomez for having bad info. The final report, manner of death, suicide. Cause of death,
How?
cause of death, inhalation of smoke and soot.
Oh, okay.
And
All right.
so-
Gotcha.
And so they're automatically claiming he started the fire.
Sure.
Regardless of what Billy Joel told you.
John Lang was the one.
It was him. It was him the whole time. The police also claimed that John had cameras in the house that he turned off the day of his death. But in the final footage was shown walking around carrying a knife. I don't think anyone's seen this footage. I'm not sure, but I don't know if anyone's ever seen that footage. So in the end, was a whistleblower and dissenter silenced by the police? Or is this just a case of paranoid delusion? It's an when you read certain sites, you're going to be like, oh, this is totally the guy who's crazy, everything. And then you read other sites where you're going, I don't know. It seems kind of, because, look at what's going on. Was it Baltimore where they found that the cops were actually carrying around fake guns to drop on people they shoot? They shoot people that are unarmed and then drop a fake pistol and go, oh, he was playing with that toy. I'm sorry. They were caught doing this, the police department.
Yes.
If you would like to check out this story, just download that iHeartRadio app. Search Fort Fritz Campfire Tales and search Who Killed John Lang. You are listening to Fort Fritz on Real Radio 104.1.
Fort Fritz on Real Radio 104.1.
Welcome back to Fort Fritz. I am your host, Fritz. We are getting into our Fort Fritz Campfire Tales. If you don't know, it's a brand new iHeartRadio channel. Fort Fritz Campfire Tales is comprised of all of our past stories we've published on Fort Fritz, including this one. This one is from yours truly. This one is a Vietnam War story. It's real, very, very frightening. It's all about Ghost Tape 10 and psychological warfare from the CIA involvement in the Vietnam War. This one, just download that iHeartRadio app, search Fort Fritz Campfire Tales. This is Ghost Tape 10. You are listening to Real Radio 104.1. Have you guys ever heard of Ghost Tape 10?
No.
That sounds like, is that what?
Is that Ghost?
Barry, turn it up.
Horrible. No, Barry, no. Round two, mother. Why did you have it? Barry,
legit creeping me
I
out.
can't tell who you are, Barry.
You've changed. Like, what's going on?
Sometimes I think you're Billy Crystal.
Oh, wow.
I get that a lot.
To a person with strong religious convictions, you would be hard-pressed to find anything more frightening than hearing a departed loved one speaking back from beyond the ether and urging you to rethink your life's choices. Quote, "Don't be like me," unquote. They would call back in the dead of night with terrifying effects, swirling and drowning out their once clear voice. Quote, "I am dead, I'm in hell," unquote.
What is this?
Such was the nightmare of the covert CIA mental warfare of Operation Wandering Soul
Wow.
during the Vietnam War.
That just sounds dark.
Damn.
Wandering soul. They're so poetic
It's like
with their ness. Exactly. Like,
Do you guys want to hear more of it?
Please.
Please, crank that
Just a little bit. Give us a little taste.
It's
But then you gotta
So
stop when I say
creepy.
stop, because, oh my God.
right here. So this, I will tell you what. Daddy, come home, Daddy. Who is that?
What?
God,
Who
Jesus.
is calling me? My daughter, my wife? Your father is back home with you, my daughter.
This is disturbing. Okay, stop. Okay, you gotta stop.
Ooh.
That's too
Oh,
creepy.
it's haunting.
So, this is one of the best stories, and I'm so glad that I get to tell it. Such was the nightmare of the covert CIA mental warfare of Operation Wandering Soul. During the Vietnam War, American forces played chilling recordings of purported Vietnamese ghosts, and they would overdub gongs, that funeral procession that we heard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a Buddhist, procession, I guess, funerary rite, and a child calling out for her deceased father.
Oh, man.
The motive of these tapes were to frighten the Viet Cong soldiers into leaving their positions in the dense jungles of Vietnam.
Really interesting tactic.
It really is just mind the enemy.
Interestingly f***y.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Crazy.
Like, that is ungentlemanly as f***.
Yeah, it is.
Well, it's kind of like spiritual fake news in a way. That now with social media,
that's
that
so
the enemy
terrifying.
comes in and gives you all these things that pry on your fears. And here is going towards their spirit and their
Psyop.
soul.
Super psyop.
And, oh yeah, that's next level.
Would you like to hear some more?
Yeah, bring it.
Oh, God, no.
Right here, I think is real spooky happens. So this is him. Your husband is back home with you, my wife, but my body is gone. I am dead. My family, tragic. How tragic. My friends, I come back to let you know that I am dead. I am dead. I am in hell. Just hell. It was a senseless death. How senseless. How senseless. But when I realized the truth, it was too late. Too late. Friends, while you are still alive, there is still a chance that you can be reunited with your loved ones. Do you hear what I say? Go home, my friends, before it is too late. Go home. Go home, friends. Hurry. If not, you will end up like me. Go home, friends.
Oh.
Wow.
Crazy.
That's
What
Yeah.
if the voiceover artists are still alive?
So-
that did that.
Let's dive into this, just brilliant piece of bag human beings. The first playback came on the night of February 7th, 1970. It was recorded in a Saigon studio a few weeks before. American GIs carted portable speakers and they played Ghost Tape number 10 from aquatic vehicles, from roving units, from boxes, like prearranged boxes set up in canopies. And they were all angled into the thick forests of, enemy-held defenses and villages. One disembodied voice pleaded, "My friends, I have come back to let you know I am dead. I am dead. I'm in hell. I'm in hell. Don't end up like me. Go home, friends, before it's too late." Legend, among many Vietnamese in the region at the time, said that a spirit recently killed was doomed to walk the site near its murder until properly located and interred or buried. So after a year, some sort of channel would open up like a portal, like Halloween, each Dia de los Muertos, and you could communicate with someone who has died.
Okay.
Operation Wandering Soul played directly on and manipulated that deep-seated religious fear.
Wow.
So they would sweep the area of the, playing, and then they would go in to see, if anything happened. They had 3 soldiers immediately captured the first time playing it through.
Really?
Wow.
And you have to, imagine they were probably playing these on Leslie speakers, which are rotating cones that just send it all over. Other recordings were also used. One time, a recording of a tiger at the Bangkok Zoo when played towards an enemy-controlled... Yeah, it's pretty funny, isn't it?
Is it Tiger Tape number 10 or 1 or...
Tiger Tape 10.
Tiger Tape 10.
Tiger Tape 10. Ooh.
That's a good band name.
Tiger Tape 10.
Better the way you said ooh, Adrian.
Ooh.
Tiger Tape ooh.
Tiger Tape 10.
I don't know. It didn't say. But when they played the tiger recording, and this was recorded at a zoo, they played it towards this hilltop. 150 trembling deserters left their posts.
Wow.
Damn.
They're posted up against the U.S. government, but the tiger, they're like, nah, we're not doing tigers.
I don't screw with
I don't
tigers,
do
man.
tigers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, ghosts they're fine with.
Yeah.
Tigers.
No tiger.
Napalm, all the other bring it. You got a tiger.
Next
I'm not
time,
doing
ghost tigers. Ghost tigers, we've won the war. We've won the war. Ghost tigers, no one can
Ghost
fight.
tigers.
Some U.S. soldiers, and of course, not knowing what that was, and I played it for you guys, it scared the out of you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So some U.S. soldiers were deeply affected, and they're like, this sounds like a ghost recording. But even if the Viet Cong fighters knew it was a hoax, it still played on their fears of potentially dying far, far away from their homes and loved ones, cursed to wander the earth until their bodies were found.
Yeah.
Really, really crazy.
That's the creepiest or the most evil thing about it. It wasn't just trying to scare them because there's ghosts out there. It's trying to scare them saying, no, you're going to be a ghost.
Yeah.
You know, so it's not trying to scare them in that way. It's trying to scare them in a much deeper religious way.
Yeah.
It's getting them right in the ghosts. Get them right
in that
you're
ghost.
right up there. So yeah, that's Operation Wandering Soul, and I don't know why we're still playing it. I think that's a bad idea.
No, Barry, if you turn it back on again, I will.
It's my jam! It's my jam! This one's an
know
all
what? You
skate!
think you-
Enjoy!
No,
Wait
that's
until you're
really
not flying the helicopter, Barry.
I don't like
see
that.
you. I'm gonna see you when we land this.
It's super creepy.
Love it!
Jesus, leave it to the American government to do some super
Right?
dastardly
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that, right? Like,
Yeah, we're good for that.
That's really
We're good for
screwed
that.
up.
To be completely honest, though, any government that uses someone's religion against someone is a coward.
That's every single government in every single war. Every single one. That's it.
Life.
they drop the f***ing like.
Yeah, they
the-
go after your beliefs and your culture and everything.
Yeah, they
about
like,
you.
oh, you're
Yeah.
Muslim. Oh, we're going to feed you pork.
They basically
You
like
know?
psychoanalyze you and like use all that against you.
Why, war, what is it good for? Absolutely nothing. But, I mean, when you really think about it, there's just some rich old person somewhere got mad at or wants to take something away from another rich old person and says, all right, I'm just going to start throwing young people at you.
thousands of young
and
people.
Yeah.
you
Yes,
throw
exactly.
all your young people at me, and I'll have my young people make some new technology, and you make some technology so you can kill them quicker, I can kill them quicker. And then at the end, you're still going to be alive probably. I'm still going to be alive. We're both still going to be rich. Just one of us is going to have more land and more oil. And a bunch of dead kids.
You're listening to Fort Fritz on Real Radio 104.
4.1. Fort Fritz on Real Radio 104.1.
Welcome back to Fort Fritz. We are getting into our Campfire Tales. It's our new iHeartRadio app channel. Just download that app and search for Fort Fritz Campfire Tales. It's all of our stories that we've published over the years on the Fort Fritz podcast. This one comes from Angela. It's Lady Lovabond, a really scary ghost story. Some say is myth, some believe in it and have actually seen it. It's a ghost ship that kind of haunts the English waterways. This one was first heard in Murder in a Bottle. Download that iHeartRadio app and search Fort Fritz Campfire Tales.
Have you guys heard of the ghost ship Lady Lovibond?
No, not at all. Not up until
Sexy.
just right now.
All right, yield salts and scallywags. It's time to shiver your timbers for a story of romance, jealousy, and revenge. The schooner Lady Lovibond, or sometimes known as Louvibond, was set to sail the day before St. Valentine's Day in 1748 along the River Thames and circumnavigate the Kent coast before making its way to sunny Portugal. Or Portugal.
Portugal.
Yeah.
Portugal.
That's what they called it in 1748.
Portugal.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's Captain Simon Reed, in some accounts named Simon Peel, just so you know,
Huh.
who had just been married. He was celebrating his marriage to the beautiful Annetta. With this little cruise, despite the old sailor superstition that it was bad luck to bring a woman on board a vessel.
Oh yeah, and that goes back to like the pirate creed,
I thought it was
right?
pregnant women.
No,
No,
All,
it's
any
that.
and all women.
Yeah, it's that, and also some kind of like pets.
Well, it makes sense. You name the boat. The boat is a lady, and she's a jealous lady.
Right.
She doesn't want any other. She doesn't want any other attention out there on the sea.
So you're saying that if you bring another woman onto
You take your fate into your own hands.
Okay.
let's just say it wasn't a good time for like female marine biologists.
They weren't getting a whole lot of access.
No,
to
I'm just trying to check out humpback whales.
I just want to study marine science and I
no
can't.
strides were being made
No,
in that front.
right.
Yeah.
So, the entire crew was celebrating except for first mate and best man at the wedding, John Rivers.
Joan Rivers?
Close.
John Rivers.
She could have lived that long and looked the same.
I got it.
Yeah, she's an angel.
Who was seething with jealous anger. He had fallen in love with a lovely Annetta and was pacing the decks with rage. While most everyone, including the captain and his wife, were partying below deck, John Rivers could take it no more.
Oh, God.
With a blunt object, he whacked a crew member right out from behind the wheel and took control of the ship. And before anyone realized what had happened, he steered the ship towards the Goodwin Sands, and the crash killed everyone on board instantly.
What? Why did he do this again?
He was jealous because the captain married
Oh, the
the
captain
woman he was
married
in love
Annetta.
with. Yep,
my
Annetta.
God.
Was Annetta like, did she requite his love? Like, is this
No report said anything about any
this is
kind
just
of attachment.
like a crazy friend zone dude who like went insane and crashed a whole boat full of
Not
people?
friendzone. She was in love with somebody else.
Right, and he
Not
like
friendzone.
I also
We don't
think
know
of
their
that-
history, really.
Right.
That's
I
going to be a
mean,
really like rocking party too, because when you think of the turning radius of a boat, and he's like just gonna
No one
he's
knows,
like,
right.
like the equivalent of speeding down the highway and being like, oh screw it, and just flipping the wheel, like that takes like 10-15
It
minutes.
depends on how much
To,
drinks you've had. You know,
Yeah.
it all feels the same.
Well, you said he crashed it into the sands.
So it's some kind of sandbar.
Okay,
Yes.
and that would be enough to like. I don't know enough about
He's
like
running
ship
boat
crashes.
ashore, man. That thing,
Yep.
the hole is
Everyone
gonna
will die?
crack, and like, yeah.
So the entire crew was killed instantly in that crash.
Instantly.
However, on February 13th in 1798, 50 years later, two separate ships reported sightings of this phantom vessel, the Lady Lovabond.
Really? 50 years later?
Luvabond, whatever it's called.
So 50 years later, two separate ships
Two
reported
separate
this?
ships. Specifically, the Eden Bridge's skipper made a log entry that he had almost collided with the schooner sailing straight for the Goodwin Sands.
Whoa.
And since then, every 50 years it has been known to return. And reports say they hear the happy voices of the guests' festivities as the vessel heads straight for the Goodwins.
Oh my God, that's
That is
so
super
frightening.
creepy. No, every 50 years.
Every
Wow.
50 years. In 1848, a sighting convinced local sailors to send out lifeboats to no avail,
Wow.
as it has disappeared before they could even reach it.
That's definitely a thing. Like, you're not going to convince sailors to like disembark lifeboats to go just kind of, hey, maybe I saw something. Like, they definitely saw something.
And then in 1948, Captain Bull Prestwick reported that he saw the vessel, that she looked real but had an eerie green glow about her. And local fishermen in the area say that the ghost ship was last seen in 1998, like as soon as 1998,
Wow.
which means that the next sighting will be in 2048.
Huh. That's amazing.
Well, let's try and stick around.
So
until
just so you know, it should be noted that the Goodwin Sands are England's most well-known grounds for ghost ships.
Oh, wow.
It has
So-
a reputation of wrecking close to like 2,000 vessels.
Yeah, it must just be f***ing up every ship that gets near it.
Yep.
Why do people even boat there anymore?
Well, maybe like,
This time we're okay. This
well, maybe
ship is
like
not
high
good
tide,
enough.
low tide, things
Right,
like
they got
that.
Google boat maps. Like, you know, like avoid that area altogether.
Google boat maps.
My Uber boat, was not doing so hot.
Right,
Like,
Siri's
I've been
like,
waiting on
try
the
not
sandbar.
to run into that sandbar.
Google
Right.
boat maps.
Yeah, it's triple rates right now.
Download that iHeartRadio app and search Fort Fritz Campfire Tales. You are listening to Fort Fritz on Real Radio 104.
Put in the Ad Council. Fort Fritz on Real Radio 104.1.
Welcome back to Fort Fritz. We have one more story left. Again, just download that iHeartRadio app and search Fort Fritz Campfire Tales. A lot of individual stories we've been telling over the past couple of seasons of Fort Fritz. Really short and concise, 5 minutes to 20 minutes. And this last one is by our very own Kaz. And this one is called El Kukui. It's a little known boogeyman story, or boogeymen, or boogie people, I guess, whatever they would like to be called. You can find this one on the Fort Fritz episode, The Fritz Yoshka Boogeymen. Enjoy.
Full disclosure.
Okay.
This guy is pretty scary. He calls himself El Kukui?
What?
Jesus. No. Shove the Bogart under the f***ing bed.
What?
No more of him.
No.
Put him back
you
in his
seem like
hole.
a
We're not
nice-
f***ing with the
you seem-
Kukui.
What's that?
Kaz, that's very rude.
Yeah,
Listen,
that's very
Kaz,
rude.
okay, listen, how dare you disrespect a guest on our
You
podcast?
were just disrespecting the hell out of that guest. That's really rude of you.
Been the most polite person here.
No.
Propriety, whatever you were talking about. El Kukui is a dangerous thing.
Gesundheit.
Thank you. El Kukui is a dangerous thing, and we need to avoid and seal off. I don't want to say burn. We burn a lot of stuff, but let's seal this area off because he's of Mexican descent, which is not a negative thing, but he is definitely of Mexican descent. I'm listing out the facts about El Kukui. He's of Mexican descent, and he is a scary monster, and not in like in a fictitious, like I'm trying to cast dispersion on a group of people. This is a legitimate monster that has no form and sleeps under your bed and eats children.
Ooh.
And says like mocking to you. Obviously, he made this guy super sad.
Aww. Oh, see?
Because that's sad.
I want to comb his fur.
Why are you being so mean to the dude?
I
know.
hate him. I hate that man.
You guys are being a
Daddy?
jerk.
You don't even know what he does to you. You're asleep. Why are you sleeping here?
Yeah, you shouldn't be sleeping here. You know
I'm not
that.
sleeping here.
The El Kukui is going to come up 2 levels from underneath your bed and get your ass.
I'm not spending the night here. That's the
Well,
stipulation.
you're sleeping.
Thank you. I can sleep here.
You're definitely not doing any gardening because this
Yeah.
guy's doing all of the
What
work.
are you doing?
He does absolutely nothing.
See, even the furry
Sits
guys.
here and mutters to himself.
I like this guy even less.
So the story of El Kukui is one of it's a colonialist transfer, right? Like the Portuguese had this like terrifying boogeyman monster that they had, and in the 15th century, and as they colonized parts of South America and Mexico, these legends intertwined with the local histories and scary stories and became something else. So the origins of El Kukui is the story of the cocoa. And the cocoa is, if it sounds familiar to you, cocoa nut. It was when the...
Cocoa beware.
With the lime and the coconut, you mix it all up.
Harry Nilsson, points.
When Portuguese sailors landed on this particular island, they encountered some native inhabitants who had the practice of putting heads on spikes, defeated enemies' heads on spikes.
That's such a baller move, isn't it? You know,
It's something.
It made a mark on these men because they took that legend essentially back, and it became this what am I trying to say?
Not sure. I'm not looking at where you're from.
There was this connection with the local fruit on this island that the indigenous
Trevor?
people that the indigenous people were on native to, and it was the coconut. So if you know, the coconut has the 2 little eyes and then the mouth hole. If you're looking at it, it looks almost like a little face, right?
Yeah,
There's 3
like a
holes
little
on the
bowling
coconut. Yeah. So this legend came back with the Portuguese sailors, and then eventually kind of took root in the settled areas as this scary sort of entity that would come and you would tell it to your children so they would behave, right? It was like the cocoa is going to come and get you. This scary thing. It was an apparition. Sometimes it didn't have a head. Sometimes it was holding its head in its hand. And also, interestingly enough, one of the depictions of it is of a pumpkin or of a lit melon with 3 holes in it with a candle inside. So it's sort of an early, what's the guy's name?
Jack-o'-lantern?
Jack-o'-lantern.
Yeah.
I thought it was
Will o' the Wisp.
Ichabod Crane.
Ichabod Crane. That's what I was
The
thinking.
Headless Horseman.
Ichabod Crane's not really the Headless Horseman.
That's who wrote it.
It's,
No, Ichabod Crane's the character.
Who's Johnny
that
Depp?
That was Ichabod Crane. He played
Johnny
that
Depp played Ichabod
Johnny
Crane.
So they took this legend back to them to Portugal, and it actually ends up being a similar etymology and pronunciation of a more ancient monster called the Cog, which was a dragon.
Ooh,
A medieval dragon, COG. It's so in this particular region of Spain, Catalonia, is Portugal, Spain, that like northern part. The Cog is basically like the nature antagonist. It was like the men are going to go out and face like the Cog. They're going to go out and sail out into whatever, and the Cog might get them, or they're going to go out into the wilderness, and the Cog is going to end up getting them.
It's kind of like a sprightly, malevolent spirit.
Right. So this kind of like nebulous, kind of anything goes monster.
So sometimes they're going to go out there and sack the Cog.
Jesus. Really?
Count it!
Count it!
Oh, I'm counting that one, Angela.
Okay.
Look, I come from a long line of cogsackers.
I
so
bet.
I think that's really offensive to deny.
That was ruthless. Gee.
Rude.
It was ruthless and
To
rude.
my heritage of cogsacking.
It's a little too close to home.
So as the legend transferred into Mexico from conquistadors, etc., and that's a hard etc., right? Obviously, terrible atrocities happened, but the legend came over, right? The legend came over from Spain of this dragon monster, and when it was relayed to the subjugated indigenous population, it sort of transferred, and they took on. They didn't really know what a dragon was, so it took on the local kind of flavor of whatever it was. So. As such, it is amorphous. It doesn't have shape. It is whatever the local thing is that is scary. That's what it is. Some places, some people describe it as a large man with a cape and a hood with red eyes.
Always, there it is again. Always the red eyes.
Red eyes.
Interestingly enough, one big red ear.
Just one.
Just one?
One big one.
Left
So
Why
you
or
is
can
right?
that terrifying? Because it is. I don't know why, but that's just.
Does it say if it's left or right? Just
I
one?
think it's the right. I think they do say. And that is the
Right.
derecho
red right ear.
or izquierda.
A la derecho. Yeah.
That age.
Derecho.
It's got two red eyes, one big red ear, and also it's got a public consciousness, like kind of mass
It's the
hallucination
thing-
vibe with it.
right,
Everyone
it's-
kind of believes in it.
If you think about it from like where it started, it was the cog, right? This medieval dragon that was just like the thing that would get you if you left the bounds of safety, right? Like the cog is going to get you if you go out in the forest. It's going to get you if you go out into the sea or whatever. This is medieval times when people weren't like, as smart as we are now.
Wow.
Yeah, not really.
So I just teed that one up for you.
It was perfect. Alley-oop.
So what the was I talking about? The cog, and he was okay. So similar, this becomes kind of the boogeyman of the time, right? In Spanish culture, and then into South American, it's whatever you are doing that is upsetting me, as an abuela, as like an older Hispanic granny. I'm going to tell you the thing that you don't know about is coming to get you, right? Like it's a very open-ended punishment, but it's also whatever the kid's afraid of. Like it's a bear, or it's like a big scary man who's gonna put you in a sack or whatever. So he can take on many forms, is what I'm saying. So could be you, it could be Angela, it could be
I
Man
didn't
Daddy.
sign up
We don't
on
know
this.
who.
It could be my uncle.
Could be the Bogart. Maybe the Bogart shapeshifted. The Kukui, and that's
Oh my
like.
God.
Oh man, that's like the porn I did. I never saw that. Wasn't it?
Wait, what?
I take offense to any and all comparisons to this monster. I am a gainfully employed taxpayer in the state of Florida.
How does a Bogart get taxpayer
Wait.
status?
Wait,
So,
who employed you full time?
The interesting thing about the Kukui, there's like a guy recently sort of dug up the bits and pieces of the scattered folklore around him and put together his official recount of the origins of the Kukui, or at least the most popular attack of the Kukui. So once upon a time, a man lived in a small Mexican village. His wife died, and he was left to raise his 3 girls on his own.
That's extremely sad. That's way sadder than the shit I've been going through.
Wow.
Doesn't sound like it.
The youngest of the three daughters was very helpful. She recognized that without the mom, she was going to have to spend time around the house cleaning, doing chores, helping out. And the father was really appreciative of this.
Yeah, of course.
The 2 older daughters were not as helpful. They saw the younger one as the goody two-shoes, the trying to be the good one. They were always sort of playing pranks on her.
That's
and
trifling.
Trifling ass Mexican daughters.
Bitch ass.
Jesus.
I mean, I'm not...
Girls are mean.
Hijas.
Yeah.
Hijas, right?
Boys things up. Girls will you up.
Yeah, they will. I know. Why are you looking at me? You're locking eyes with me as you're saying this.
I'm threatening you.
I know you are. It's very uncomfortable to me. That's all I'm saying.
The younger daughter would plead with the sisters, and she was met with laughter and derision. And I'm quoting from an article by Robert Bitto in Mexico Unexplained.
Wait, what is that?
Let's just go with it. The youngest was helpful. The older two were being
Useless.
and they were always kind of playing pranks on her, etc. She would clean up, and they'd go and throw dirt on the floor that she had just swept up.
Well, that's
just being mean.
Terrible.
So one day the younger daughter went to her father and said she pled with him.
Pleaded?
She pleaded to help out, and it only seemed to make matters worse. They increased their bullying. They were now ready to be violent with her, etc. They would obviously prank on her. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, dunk on her.
I say the same thing.
There's nowhere to go
They
but
were just
murder
like
from
wedgies
here.
for days.
Dunk on her.
Someone must die at this
Just
end.
posterize. The father then decides he's had enough. And he's going to call the Kukui to come and get them. The older
Wow,
girls.
that's a little extreme.
The older
gotta do
girls
what you
thought
gotta
it was
do
funny.
sometimes.
Well, so I think at this point everybody's kind of like, yeah, the Kukui, right? The two older girls are like, okay, Dad, yeah, get the
Maybe
Kukui.
like Super Nanny first, but all right.
What was her name? Nanny McPhee?
I don't know what that means.
Nanny McPhee.
I'm super
There
nanny.
are other options, by the way.
Just nannies. Different nannies. Well, none of them are. Yeah.
Get Jackson Galaxy in there to mess with the cats.
Like kids from hell.
So the girls thought this was funny, but the father knew that because he knew about the Kukui's big red ear, that it could hear from distances up to 250 miles away.
Who judged that? Who was like, okay, wait, 251? Hey, Kukui, you're a dick. Yeah, say nothing. I think we found it. I think we found the butter zone.
The butter
Just like scream that in the night every night.
Nice.
Maybe there's like
Kukui
a
call.
like a newsletter group. I don't know.
Sure enough, Kukui hears it, right?
Because that big f***ing ear.
That ear.
Always does.
It's
Those red ears.
Yeah, thank you.
The townsfolk reported seeing a large, upright, hairy creature enter their little village. The creature made a beeline to the house of the widower and snatched the two older girls.
Get
The
'em.
Kukui swiftly took the girls to his mountain hideaway, a dark cave with a deep pit. He put the girls in the pit and fed them one tortilla a day. And
Well,
How Mexican is this demon?
Oh my god.
he's just in there in his cave making tortillas and just like tossed them down to them.
Because if you have a better way for me to make tortillas and to feed all you assholes, I would love to hear it.
Kukui's tortilla.
it in the hole like I'm.
He's just shooting tortillas.
Kukui tortillas.
So barely enough to keep them alive. After about a week, a goat herd tending his flock managed to find the girls and extricate them from the Kukui's cave and brought them back to their father to reunite them. The disobedient daughters told their father that they begged him to never call the Kukui on them again, and the father never did because the girls never gave him reason to.
And they never ate tortillas ever again.
Tortillas would be really
Or they
ruined
were just
for
like,
you, you know?
You know what? Were the Kukui tortillas better than the ones that we get here at the house, Dad? What are you doing? He's mashing the corn with rocks or something.
The tortillas were never the same again.
They were never the same again. I wonder if he made flour or corn tortillas.
I think flour. When I envision it in my mind, I think flour. I mean, that's just wishful thinking.
I thought corn.
Well,
I was thinking corn seems more traditional.
right.
Yeah,
you know?
Kukui
He was
corn.
a racist.
Kukui corn.
And then, so the daughters ended up growing up in this Mexican town, and their great grandchildren are known as being the most polite and well behaved children in the country because no one wants the Kukui to return.
Because nothing's better to rear your children than rearing them with complete abject terror.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know,
At the end of the
just
day,
lie to them with fear.
Yeah.
It's fine.
if you get, have you fear-mongered today? Hashtag, have you fear-mongered today? They're going to
Because-
Twitter.
Well, and it's easy to do
Nothing's
to a
better than
kid
live their
too,
life with
right?
just a bunch of anxiety for no reason.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
So yeah, no, he can take the shape of whatever we're most afraid of, and it seems
not
that you
good.
are most afraid of this sad little gardening man.
Yeah, why is he so sad?
Because you're mean to him.
Yeah, you're really, really mean.
You can find this one on the Fort Fritz episode, The Fritz Yoshka Boogeymen. You've been listening to Fort Fritz on Real Radio 104.1. Up next, Bungalower and the Bus.
Until next time, pleasant dreams.